Here we are once again. I'm Theron King T. Washington, aka King Chocolate from Los Angeles.
And I am Anne Naylor, aka Queen Vanilla from the French Riviera.
Ooh,
Ooh.
Queen Vanilla.
Queen.
That's a fact,
Royalty.
though. And I love that. I love how we come together in that way because earlier, Anne, you mentioned how everyone is royalty. So why can't we all be kings and queens?
And what if we treated one another as if we were kings and queens? What if you treated your neighbor as if he or she was a king or queen and had that respect? Because the truth is, we are royalty. Deep down in our heart of hearts, we are royalty.
Yes,
We are
yes.
more precious than anything, any jewels or anything anyone could wear, any mega yachts. We have a few out in the water there, or villas or fast cars. We're so much greater than all of that, and yet we get very hooked into materiality, and we miss the point. I mean, it's good to have nice things, to have a nice lifestyle. I wouldn't criticize that for a moment, but we kind of get it out of perspective.
Well, and I think more of we there's a self-centeredness that comes up, because I understand, the saying, look out for number one. And I do believe you have to look out for yourself, right? Because you don't look out for yourself, how can you look out for the next person? Your children, your neighbor, your family, friends. So you have to look out for yourself. The thing where I see the problem is the self-centeredness. When you just get so absorbed into who you are and you don't want to give back. I just want to take. I was talking to someone the other day and I was, mentioning that whole scenario when you talk about being on a plane, if the oxygen mask drop, what do? You put it on yourself first, then you put it on the one next to you and so on and so forth. And we touched on, well, what would a self-absorbed person do? They would put the mask on and then fold their arms and say, yeah, I'm safe. They wouldn't look to the left or the right to help anyone out, right? But someone who, and when I think of the word selfish, right? I remember hearing, I don't know if you know who Zig Ziglar is, but he said, okay. So someone said selfish to him, right, is a bad thing. And Zig Ziglar said, well, what did they say? They said, well, why? I don't like that people are selfish. And Zig Ziglar said, well, that's just like saying, well, I don't like people breathing oxygen. Because you have to take care of you first. If you're not thinking of yourself first, how can you give? I say, why do I want more? Somebody said, why do you want more, T? I said, well, I want more in order to give more. So I first receive, then I give back.
I totally relate with that. I think we can give to receive, and there's always more to receive and more to give. So it's this upward spiral that I see that, and there are times if we're going through a hard time where we need to be self-forgiving or self-compassionate. So sometimes we have to take care of a vulnerable side of ourselves. So we're not giving because we need something from people. So there's a kind of giving where you want to avoid the difficulty you're having in order to give to someone else. But the giving is less, it's good to be giving, but it's less, how can I say, the word that comes to mind is pure. Because you want something, you're not giving it freely, you're giving because you want something back. You need approval or affirmation. That ultimately is not a bad thing, but how much better that you take care of yourself, you're personally accountable, which I think is really exciting these days, because if we're more personally accountable with our health, so we take care of our health, we do the things, we eat the right foods, we do exercise, we take care of our mindset. So we take
you get a nice haircut and wear a nice top and have the jewelry on and everything like you do, Anne, today.
Thank you.
It's so lovely.
I'm being well, to wear things that give me pleasure makes me feel good.
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm feeling good, if I'm smiling, if I've got what's called a pleasant disposition. I'm hearing recently that the pleasant disposition is a great way to be in life because it radiates out to people. So if you have a pleasant disposition because you're doing the things which take care of you, which give you pleasure, not in a selfish way, but just taking care of yourself, that ripples out to others. And it does help to create a more pleasant ambiance, or more pleasant, the word that comes to mind is aura even. It connects with people. It lightens people. This is the offering ourselves in small ways, making small contributions. So me putting on something where I feel comfortable and it feels good, and it's summertime. So it feels nice.
So Anne, that brings to mind, when you think when you said a sunny, happy disposition, would you say that maybe Trump himself should partake in that for himself? Make himself feel good. But I don't know how he would do it, but to me, it seems as though he doesn't really transfer that. He doesn't give that.
It's very easy to look at a person, a figurehead, and say they should be different than they are. And a point of view that I have is that he's come to fulfill a certain purpose. After all, he was voted for. And so,
whether it was legal or illegal, that's between,
whatever, somehow he got to the position he got to. And the challenge here is to accept that however he's got there, he's there.
He's there.
I tend to look at it from a higher perspective. He's fulfilling a purpose. Now, one of the things it is fulfilling, I believe, is that because people have a sense of mistrust about the man, that they're looking to find ways of doing things which don't involve him in small ways. I think ordinary people in their small ways can actually make a difference without depending upon a political figurehead or even a royal figurehead, come to that. And I think it's time we're growing up. We're growing up to be more accountable for ourselves and have less, how can I say, regard for, not a disrespect, but less regard for people who find themselves or get voted into positions of power. Does that person, who I might not respect, does that person have to affect my life? No, I'm going to have a happy day. I'm just not going to look at too many news reports about that particular person, because often the news reports, accurate or not, are not very happy. Yeah. And maybe the man himself is not very happy. And right. From what I observe, it doesn't seem to be entirely a happy person. But I'm not in his shoes. So I know what makes him happy. He is who he is, but I'm not dependent on my happiness. My happiness is not dependent on him.
Right.
I am accountable for my own happiness. So if I make me happy first and I make someone else, my neighbor, happy, then there's two of us. I'm not going to be rubbing shoulders with your president any day soon. I mean, who knows? Maybe he'll come to the south of France and I will, but no. But chances are unlikely. But I think a huge lesson about expecting anything from a political leader, given that, frankly, I think politics is no longer fit for purpose. That's my view about politics at the moment.
Do you think that the reason why politics has such a bad name, is it really because of the name politics and what it stands for, or is it because of the people who were put in these certain positions choosing to do things that really go against what we were really meant to be or do for this country, for the sake of human life?
Well, I have a view about this. I mean, my brother-in-law was a member of parliament. My sister is very politically oriented. So it's close to family, and I happen to love them both. So, I don't agree or disagree with their politics. But what I notice, there's something in political culture that I noticed with my sister. She could argue black is white, and she believes it. And it's like, that's part of political culture. There's a certain way of speaking where they believe, it seems to me, in what they're saying, where, you can listen to it and think, I'm not sure that's actually accurate. But, it's almost a distraction from the position or the possibility we have to be personally accountable for our own well-being and happiness in our own tiny 10 acres, whatever that might be. And I think a purpose of a less agreeable figurehead is like, okay, how do we manage what we want to do without recourse to that person? And that's what people are finding to do, is what I'm seeing. People have a ways of making things happen, particularly now we've got the internet. People are talking across countries, trade wars with the US, with the US and China. I mean, who knows about that? It seems to me that Africa's coming up big time. They're getting into education big time through all the education programs you can get online now, free of charge. I mean, the world is so evolving.
Yes.
But and I think this is where coaches have a tremendous service to offer, is assisting people to become more personally accountable for what they want for themselves and their families, and the personal goals they have to make a difference. And I think most coaches I've come across want to make a difference, want to make the world a better place. So I'm one of these people who has tremendous hope, not because of the way things are, but the way I'm seeing things evolving. We're living in the most thrilling time of opportunity and possibility, and people are waking up to what they can achieve, and the ways they can make the world a better place. And it is going to be a better place, frankly. You hear all the bad news, but a lot of very, very good things are happening. So,
yeah, I'm thankful that you mentioned the attitude of coaches. What does the coach stand for? So when I hear the word coach, because I think of, well, when someone hears it who's not familiar with it, they think of a sports player, right? But what we're talking about, the type of coach who, for an example, just having a conversation in a way that will help to lead people to think in a broader way, a broader perspective, that will bring about more of, help them to transition into more of a successful way of thinking and being, more so in a way that will lift people up, not tear people down. Like being a coach, what I don't do is I don't dwell and I don't take people into the past. We might do a little something about the past, but I don't construct a plan based on what the past was. Though it may be mentioned, but more so is we construct from the present and help them to build for their future. So not saying that therapists are not needed or psychologists are not needed, but we do a different job because everything has their own place. A therapist, a psychologist, a counselor, a consultant, as well as me and you, and who are coaches in a way of offering people a different insight, a different way to view life, right? And to take more responsibility and ownership of what they are doing and how they are acting, responding, and reacting. So I'm glad you brought that up, being a coach.
Being a coach. Well, if that's where we start, that's how we came to meet in the first place, because we'd had the same coaching training in a sense. So, but I think that coaches in a way are leading a vanguard of this kind of awareness and possibility, because a lot of people that I've met who are growing into coaches, they've come from not very advantageous backgrounds sometimes, and yet they are seeing themselves growing into a valuable person, a royal person who's got something to give. Because if we're giving from the richness of the royalty that we are, then we're contributing, and everyone's got royal gifts. Everyone's got gifts. Like when you think of royal figureheads, like royal family in England, for example, they've got wealth and they employ it. But we as individuals, as royalty, have gifts to employ, to give back. Everyone, and I think that's one of the things that I enjoy about coaching is I've trained myself to focus on the heart in people and the natural gifts they have. I go hunting for those, and I find, because what you look for is what you find. And people that I work with, they have gifts, and when I see them, and then I just feed back, am I right in thinking you have this quality or this gift, whatever? And they may look at me and say, well, yeah, I do. But they may not have recognized it up to the point that I pointed it out. And that's just such a joyous process. But I think one of the gifts that coaches have is listening. I think that's one of the greatest gifts that we can have, because people need to speak, and often they're not listened to properly. And I think one of the great gifts that, well, certainly the training I've had, and I think you've had it too, is the gift of curiosity and drawing people out and asking the questions. So they really feel listened to. I mean, that's honoring royalty.
Yes, yes. You know, that, well, just by that right there, I think of, I would love to sit down in front of President Trump and have ongoing conversations with him. You know, and then the way I think of it is, I never think of it as in a way of trying to bash somebody or prove that they're wrong, try to knock them off of, off of their pedestal or whatever. I always think of, well, what is it here that maybe needs to be understood? There's misunderstanding, miscommunication. How can we bridge a gap? Now, I understand some things he says, many of us, we consider them to be racist. Some things he say, right? And sexist. Some things he say. At the same time, like something like that does not deter me away from connecting with someone like that because of who I am and what I believe. And yes, I would love Ann to have a time to sit down with him. So if this actually goes viral, yes, President Trump, invite me to have a seat with you. I would love to sit across from you and just have a conversation. I would just love that.
See what he's saying, if you hear what he's saying as being racist or sexist, a lot of people in the country would come under that description. There's still a lot of racism, sexism, lots of isms around.
Right.
However, the fun thing is bridging the isms and going to the heart and the royalty of each person, whatever the ism might be, and actually seeing the quality, the royalty in each person to celebrate it, because it's all there. Everyone, as long as they've got a heart that beats, they've got royalty to celebrate.
Yes.
Royalty of gifts, of talent.
Yes.
Qualities. Everyone has got something.
So true.
And sometimes it's the most ordinary person, when you get talking to them, it's like, oh my God, I never knew. And people are very inspiring, even the ordinary ones that you might discount. But if you give them some airtime, it's like, oh my goodness. The respect, as if, and which they are royalty, you respect the royalty in that person. And you could just make their day.
Yes. And their life. I mean, because it's a changing effect on them. Can be.
Yes, good listening, I think, is a changing effect, because there's not a lot of it around. I think it's something that we're definitely learning more about, and the coaches have a particular expertise, I feel, in listening, curiosity and listening.
Yes. So we don't want to go on too much further.
I think we'll just wrap.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it here. Because we have so much to say, right?
We do. Yes, we could carry on all night, but we won't.
So if we hear from you guys, and if you say, hey, we want more of you, please respond in that way, because we have way more to say and would love to give more. But till now,
as you heard, King Chocolate is ready to go viral so he can have his meeting with President Trump.
Yes.
Which I would like to see and have it recorded, please.
All right. And I'm going to have you there with me. I will invite you. And I'm going to have you. You're going to be my, I don't know what you want to be, my backup, my side coach, my co-coach. I have my co-coach, Ann Naylor, a.k.a. Queen Vanilla, with me.
Okay. We'll do that. We'll do that. How fun is that? Yeah.
All right.
And we'll just love the socks off that President Trump.
That's right, yeah. Because he needs it. He needs a hug. Give him a hug.
Oh, yeah, give him a hug.
Yeah. You hug him from the, I don't know. I was going to say you hug him from the back. I hug him from the front. I don't know. I might stay on the side. I don't know.
Well, I have to say, whatever way it goes, it's going to be a chocolate vanilla swirl.
Ooh, nice. Yeah.
You won't know what smothered him.
That's right. We'll swirl him up. We're going to just swirl him up, girl.
Swirl him up and be such a happy camper.
That's right. All right, people. So thank you very much. Until next time. All right.
Until next time. Bye for now.